welcome to Texas Football Talk. I'm your host, Jeremy Lockley, once again joined by my brother Clint. In this episode, we're talking Texas offensive line preview for the 2021 season. How you doing, brother?
Hey, pretty good, man. It's nice to get some of these overviews started. Obviously, we're going to start with the offensive line. Spring game's going to start here as we're filming probably in around about 10 days or so on March 23rd and then run through April 24th after about 14 practices, I believe, heading into a spring game on the 24th of April. So I can tell you that the trenches win football games, and I think this is probably the most pivotal position group that we're going to talk about as far as an overview goes. So currently, obviously, with a new coaching staff, you got a new offensive coordinator / offensive line coach with Kyle Flood coming from Alabama. Previously worked with the Atlanta Falcons and was the Rutgers head coach at one particular point as well. I can tell you that this was definitely a steal from obviously the University of Alabama to be able to get Kyle Flood to follow Sarkisian to Texas. And I think he has a lot of key contributors to work with. Some young ones, some older ones, some guys that decided to take advantage of some extra eligibility years. Quite a few guys. So I think there's quite a few seniors out there, but quite a few probably true sophomores that may have an opportunity to play. Obviously, one of the key departures on the offensive line is Sam Cosmi. Obviously, he declared for the NFL draft. Just recently had his pro day. Their thoughts that he may be able to go in the first round, depending on what his position versatility is and where they see him playing in the NFL. And then currently right now you have outgoing as far as transfers go is Willie Tyler is currently, who was redshirt sophomore, 6'7", 335 pounds out of Racing, Wisconsin, currently in the transfer portal. Your thoughts, man, on Kyle Flood, Sam Cosmi in the transfer portal?
Oh, yeah. So Kyle Flood, like you said, was a steal. He came in with Coach Sarkisian to Alabama. Able to grab him, again, multiple-time award winner last year as an offensive line coach at the University of Alabama. His style is a little bit different than the previous offensive line coach, Herb Hand. He wanted a slider, faster lineman, it seems, with Kyle Flood's lines at Alabama. He wants more girth. He wants a 330-pound guy or a 305-pound guy. So philosophically, we may see a change across the offensive line. Key departure, Sam Cosmi, as good a time as any to take off. And you saw with his pro day how he bench pressed 36 times, 36 reps at weight, and then was able to run a 4.840. So now's the right time for him to declare for the draft. Again, looking at a late first round, second round draft grade for him. And then Willie Tyler rarely saw the field, so him transferring out of the program is not truly a big loss. But going back to Colorado real quick, 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and 1 senior were those starters for that bowl game, and they played very, very well. So as we go through this, just remember that there's, like you said, there's depth at certain positions. Like we talked about last year, we want to see the top 9 guys. It's good to have a great front 5, but those guys get hurt and have to move around. So it's good to have at least nine scholarship linemen that you can trust to come in the game. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, so it obviously you brought up the fact that Kyle Flood's maybe his philosophy on offensive linemen may be a little different. So pulled out the Googler this morning and started Googling some information about obviously current height and weights for offensive line as it's concerned to your top 25 your top 25 teams. And it kind of varies depending on probably what offenses you're running, what you're trying to do. If you're trying to lean on an opponent over and over and over again, obviously you're going to get some guys that are going to be obviously a little bit bigger, probably a little taller. I can tell you that Alabama's, current last year's roster was sitting at about 6'5.5", 326 pounds. Texas was at, if I look down here, 6'5.5", 317 pounds. So there's not much difference, but I think it's skewed by a couple of players that are currently on the roster. Obviously Evan Neal was a monster for that Alabama team. He was currently, I think, 6'7", 359 pounds, I think is what he was. So that's huge. So obviously that's going to skew the numbers when you're looking at, some of these lines. But I think what we're looking at when you're looking at offensive line and what I think Kyle Flood's going to do, I think he's probably going to go with more length and a little heavier weighted guys, man. Do we currently have those on the 40 acres? Not currently where their weight sits right now, but really where, where can, the new strength and conditioning staff get these guys, as far as healthy weight, but to be able to still bend and flex and be able to move as well. Your thoughts, man, when you're looking at really these weights of some of these schools?
Yeah, so when you sent me this, I thought this was really cool. So I instantly just kind of compared our roster of linemen versus theirs. And what I found was what you said: Alabama, Oklahoma, and Oregon are significantly larger than we are. Ohio State and Clemson are significantly smaller than we are. When I say significant, I mean like a 10 pound across the front difference. And then programs like A&M and Georgia are pretty much the same size as we are. And like you said, it can be skewed by a Tope Madi who weighs 355 pounds or a Willie Tyler who weighs 335 pounds. But yeah, so when you're talking about the top 10 teams, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Oregon have a philosophy of being heavier, like you said, up to 331 for Oklahoma, up to 326 for Alabama, and then 325 for Oregon. And then smaller teams like Ohio State, 312 pounds, and Clemson, 303 pounds to our 317. So Clemson running the line out there at 6'3", 303. Likes to get to that second level with their speed and get hands on the linebackers. But it goes to show you that the diversification across, like you said, these top 10 teams about what they're looking for is significant, and it's probably based upon philosophy, offensive philosophy. But yeah, those are my thoughts on size. Go ahead.
And I think it's going to go back to obviously, obviously, players, plays, formations. Obviously, it's going to be, Steve Sarkisian's going to figure out what he currently has on the roster, see what he has through the spring, seeing what he's able to run as an offense based on what he currently has. And I think that's what you have to be able to do. And then Kyle Flood kind of look at this offensive line and say, hey, who are my best 9 guys, like you're saying, 9-10 guys to fit that scheme that Steve Sarkisian wants to run, which is everything from the West Coast offense to the, to the power spread to, the RPO game and so on and so forth. So we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But you brought up the fact that, obviously Colorado, there were some guys that had an opportunity to play a lot of snaps because of injuries. Obviously, Derek Kerstetter going down gave Jake Majors an opportunity to play that center. And then you had an opportunity when Sam Cosmi decided he was going to opt out of the bowl game to let Andre Carrick go ahead and play that left tackle role. And I know you've had some back and forth on where some of these guys may be able to play under Kyle Flood, or where they will play. And I think really Jake Majors being able to do as well as he did, and Andre Carrick being able to do as well as he did in the amount of starts that they did have, and the job that Christian Jones did at that right tackle role. I think right now, I don't think that I can honestly say that I don't know who the top 5 guys are going to be. And I think that's kind of where you want it to be going into the spring, a true meritocracy where it's, nobody holds down a position. And then to me, again, if you look at that starting lineup in Colorado and you kind of named what it was what, 2 freshmen, 1 sophomore, and a couple of or what, a junior and a senior or something.
Yeah, 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and 1 senior. The one senior was Denzel Okafor.
Yeah. And then obviously having Junior Angilau there that's had a massive amounts of starts and snaps and so on and so forth. But your thoughts, man, on that Colorado offensive line and how we move forward with the guys that we currently have on the roster.
So when I called you this morning, we were trying to figure out our best 5. I had 3 locks as going into the season that I thought were going to start. And you kind of reminded me this isn't Tom Herman's offense, man. And so the first thing that struck me was the size. After we just talked about them averaging 317 pounds, that Colorado line was 294 Andre Carrick, 294 Junior Angilau, 298 Jake Majors, 315 Denzel Okafor, and 305 Christian Jones. And so I thought, the 3 on the left side, I was really impressed with Andre Carrick's play. Junior Angilau's got 21 starts in the program. Jake Majors is the best center in the program, hands down. So I really felt like that left side of the line would be solidified. Coming out of the conversation with you, I'm only stuck with Jake Majors because, like you said, it needs to be a true meritocracy. Where are you going to play Derek Kerstetter? Because when he comes back, he's probably going to find himself as one of the 5 best linemen. So who's coming out? Is it Okafor? Is it Jones? Does he go to the left side? Does he go to the right side? Because I really don't see him taking. I really believe, like we said last year, him playing center is a deficit to this team. Because I think Jake Majors can hold down that job, and you can use his talent and experience that he has as being a 4-year starter. Talking about Kerstetter, somewhere else across that line. So when we initially talked this morning, I had Carrick, Angilau, and Majors you kind of solidified as left tackle, left guard, and center. But going into spring ball, like you said, it needs to be a competition. Incoming freshmen like Hayden Connor and Max Merrill need to be able to compete. Guys like Isaiah Hookfin, who we saw great things out of in summer camp. I didn't realize he was a senior. His 4 years have kind of like shot on by. Tyler Johnson, who was a perennial 5-star coming out of Conroe, Texas, needs an opportunity to compete. So yeah, we started talking about this video as a position battle series, and as we talk more about it, there's a whole lot of position battles to talk about. Probably the whole crew minus Jake Majors at this point. So we trying to change the title to an overview. But once the practices start and these guys start competing, and you see who walks out with the first team in the spring game and who walks out second and how they perform, then you could really turn it into a position battle series as we head into the summer. But this is more like an overview, look at the roster, strengths and weaknesses, and just overall assessment.
Yeah, so you brought up, obviously you brought up Tyler Johnson, sophomore, redshirt sophomore, that has obviously, came out as a high 4-star by some recruiting services, a 5-star by some, that really you haven't heard a lot from. And I think it was a health issue last year that he was kind of going through. And I think his health issues may have caused him to not be in the shape that he needed to be in. So I think you'll see him have an opportunity. Like you said, I think Jake Majors at this particular point at the center position is probably I would have it's probably a shoe in at this particular point. Unless somebody comes in Kyle Flood sees somebody else that may be a better center. So we'll kind of see where it works itself out at. I was talking to you about Christian Jones and moving Christian Jones to the left side, him being 6'6" and 310 pounds versus obviously Andre Carrick at 6'4" and 294 pounds. That's a big difference. And like I said before, Evan Neal was a 6'7", 359 pound offensive tackle. So it's really, what is he looking for? And can these guys do what's necessary to be able to run the offense that they want to run and be able to move and grade people the way that Flood's going to want them to do it, especially with the perennial backfield like you have in Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson. There's going to be it's going to probably be obviously a run first offense with some RPO package set in and wide receiver spread all over the field. But yes, more thoughts, Sherman?
Yeah, just another interesting facet or something I'm going to be looking at when spring ball does start is height and weight charts. When they initially release their height and weights coming into spring ball, which they generally do, and then summer and then fall after they lose initially that 10 pounds because of Texas heat in summer. Be looking at height and weight charts, and we know that Torrey Beckton runs a different strength and conditioning program than the previous administration. So going to be looking for, because again, you talked about Christian Jones having 10 pounds on Andre Carrick, but he had another year in the weight room, in a college weight room to be able to put on 10 pounds of muscle. So yeah, and he started as, again, late in the season, not initially, but started late as a freshman coming out of high school, a true freshman, talking about Andre Carrick. So I'll be looking at height and weight charts to see how much weight these guys have put on. That'll kind of lead us down that philosophical train that we see Kyle Flood is student at the University of Texas. And then, like you said, we'll just continue to watch them perform in practice in the spring game and just keep our ear to the ground and try to figure out what information is coming out of Austin during the spring.
Yeah, biggest thing is this, obviously, this being an overview, me and Jeremy will be doing, obviously, updates as spring practice happens. As we hear things from, come out of the 40 acres or people DM us on position battles and who's doing what and so on and so forth. We'll definitely relay those in some of the lives that we'll do moving through spring training. It's getting really, really excited because, obviously you get through the spring, you get through the spring game, and then all of a sudden you're in the summer, then you're in the fall, and then we're ready to go back at it again against University of Louisiana there. So, hey, more to come on this. Be excited about this offensive line. Be excited about Kyle Flood. Be excited about this offense. It's, trenches win football games, and I think we really look good on the offensive line side of the ball. There's just a couple of questions there on what he's going to do. And then on the defensive side, we look really good. And obviously we know that iron sharpens iron, and I think that's where Jeremy brought up a point where Clemson currently sits at about 6'4", 303 pounds for their offensive line. But that iron that they have on that defensive side of the ball inside of, each and every year gives them an opportunity to go against some of the best offensive or defensive linemen in the nation. So when they get into games where they go against the Ohio States or the Alabamas. They have an opportunity to be able to do what they need to do. But hey, we appreciate you listening to this podcast as always. You can find us on Twitter at Texas Football Talk, on Facebook at Texas Football Talk, and on Instagram at Texas Football Talk. We appreciate you listening always. Please hit that like button. If you have not hit that subscribe button, please hit that subscribe button. I think we're going to start going fast and furious with more videos. We'll probably publish probably somewhere between 2 or 3 videos a week I think is what our goal is. Obviously moving through spring, there'll be a lot that's happening on the 40 acres. And then obviously getting back to our, Wednesdays and Sundays lives.
So this one will probably come out on Sunday afternoon, and then be prepared for a scatter shoot live show, quick, probably 30 minutes. Congratulate the University of Texas men's basketball team on their Big 12 conference championship. That's the plan. It's always subject to change with our careers and our families. But yeah, would love to talk about the UT men's basketball championship that they were able to garner last night. Is awesome.
So we appreciate you listening as always, and hook 'em.
Hook 'em.